Welcome to my humble abode. I'm Yorkie the Talespinner, and this is Tales Over Coffee, our morning show where we start the day together with a cup of coffee and a narrative tale, in the hope of welcoming a blessed day. And this is Suzerain, the continuing tale of the presidency of Anton Rain, and Yorkie the Talespinner's rather forgetful attitude when it comes to remembering exactly what we promised to do. Oh dear. Well, let's see how it goes. I have a feeling this presidency will fall apart. Funny. When you break your promises in the real world, people just pretend you haven't. Or at least your allies do. Trade talks with the Prime Minister of Agnolia. Sordland 1. Sordland 1's flight from Holsaw to Stalport took 3 hours, but went very smoothly. We were about to touch down. David left his seat and came over while Simon was enjoying his newspaper. "Looks like we are about to land, Mr. President," said David. I looked outside. I could see Hedgeland and the island in between Valsland, and Agnolia. So many conflicts over a small piece of land, and the island can barely sustain itself without outside help, said David. I don't blame them. It's a very strategic position. Certainly, if you have Helgeland, that means you're in control of the whole of Valgos Channel. I suspect it will be one of the topics that Mr. Van Houten will bring up as a bargaining chip. You must be careful. Helgeland might be under the control of Agnolia, but the international community is yet to recognise it. For a good reason, too. Nobody wants to make an enemy of Valgsland, especially because of the support of United Contana and the CSP. I don't care who we're against, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We should try to at least look at the bigger picture. Simon folded his newspaper, got up from his seat, and sat right next to us. Aside from the point of Helgeland, we need to be careful with the additional requests. According to the deal that was negotiated so far, they want to sell us their steel for a higher price, and they are requesting easier access to our agricultural market. Oh, before I continue, I just want to say on a personal level, a thank you to all of you for helping me reach 100 subscribers. I never thought that would happen when we began. So thank you. Access to our agricultural market. In return, they are promising cash flow and investments, especially in the Agland region. Not hard to guess why. Precisely, Agnolian immigrants in our Agland region make up a good chunk of the region's economy now. During the initial negotiations, they have brought up the topic of immigration many times. Our job will be hard because of our new tightened immigration laws. Let's see if we can shake hands on it. The pilot made an announcement that the descent had started. David and Simon went back to their seats. I took another look outside the window. I could see Stelport, capital city of Magnolia. The large dockland of the city, and the canals appeared closer as our descent continued. Stelport was certainly a fitting name, due to Stel meaning canal. I assumed it meant steel. And I know Steelport. It was in Saints Row, which I'm glad it's not that, because that was run by gangs. A couple minutes later, we finally touched down. The plane parked. I took a final look out of the window. The welcoming ceremony from Magnolia was waiting along the red carpet outside. After the guards made their way out, I exited the plane. Wave at the crowd. I waved at the crowd that gathered. There were many camera flashes. I started to make my way downstairs. Prime Minister Van Houten was nowhere in sight. Instead, I was greeted by the Foreign Minister. Interesting. After handshakes and a couple of photos, I moved to the car, where Serge was waiting to make our way to the office of the Prime Minister. Good day, sir. I hope the flight was comfortable. Yes, it was. Thank you, Serge. I got in the car and we made our way through the foreign streets. Our convoy was protected by Swordish and Agnolian guards in their vehicles. We began driving by the highway along beside the port and saw dozens of dockyards and ships anchored. Some of the ships and machinery looked old. The city itself looked very grey and grim. The buildings had a touch of Rumburg's famous monarchian architecture, the mixture of Swordish signature domes on the older ones. We were now on the main road, the office of the Prime Minister. Looks like they are not too happy to see you, sir. Serge pointed at the crowd that gathered on both sides of the street. It was a protest. They were shouting and yelling at our convoy. Some of them held signs written in Swordish. Sordland must pay its debts to Agnolia. You know, I never knew Agnolians were so ungrateful. Not everyone sees a great leader like you every day, said Serge. There have been many issues in Sordland. I don't know if I can call myself a great leader, at least not yet. So humility is important, but not in this case. They are always scared of Sordland's potential, and now they are afraid that a lion leads Sordland. They are afraid of you. The convoy started slowing down. We have arrived, sir. The car continued through the gates, while the security vehicles went the other way. We finally came to a stop in front of the door. Serge left the car and opened the car door. I exited and began walking toward the door where the dozens of present Prime Minister were waiting for me. I saw the PM much more clearly as I neared the door. He was shorter than I thought. Mr. President, welcome to Agnolia, said Martin van Hoorn, Prime Minister, and to the beautiful city of Stalport. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's great to be here. He reached out for a handshake. The press surrounded us and had been waiting for this moment. Ooh. I could overpower. That might be a bit of aggressive just for a handshake. This is excessive. Shake hands. He gestured to the entrance of the 200-year-old Parliament building. This way, please. We entered and the press followed us inside. I would like to present you with a gift as a sign of friendship between our countries. An assistant showed him immediately with a large glass box in a hand. It contained a single parchment inside. This here is one of the first treaties written in between Sordland and Agnolia. May it mark the renewal of our friendship today as well. It's an amazing gift, thank you. Our photos were taken again. I gestured at one of my retainers who was holding our gift to the PM. Original copies of the first constitution of Sordland. Swordish bred puppy, despite man's no fear of dogs. That's evil. An ornamental ceremonial sword made of Swordish steel. All of those represent Sordland. The middle one is just a douchebag move. Ornamental ceremonial sword made out of Swordish steel, or the Constitution. We're changing the Constitution, so no. Our gift was an ornamental sword made of Swordish steel. Ah, an excellent specimen. This must be hundreds of years old. It looks like this is Swordish steel as well. Very fitting, thank you. Ah yes, because he's looking into the steel, isn't he? The cameras flashed once again. Let's go to my office, follow me. I followed him and we entered the office of the Prime Minister. It was a room of wooden, minimalistic decoration. It was far more modest than I had expected. We sat down, he leaned back and made himself comfortable. Sheesh. Thankfully done with the ceremonies. Are you not fond of those ceremonies? I think they're a waste of time, said Martin, but alas, that is our jobs. He got up from his chair and moved over to the bar. There were many varieties of liquor. Ceremony is not a waste of time. It's an appeal to the public who support you and who you are meant to support in turn. They're not the most important thing by any means, but they are an important symbolic gesture. Would you like a drink, Mr. Rain? Just water is fine. As you wish. He poured the drinks and gave me mine before sitting down again. Let's get straight to business. A true gentleman. I can respect that about you, Mr. Van Hoorn. This is how we do things at Agnolia, Mr. Rain. I appreciate the kind words, but flattery alone won't sway me this day. First of all, I would like to say that I've been watching your recent change to the immigration policy. We have worries about the new Untitled immigration laws. Immigrants are very important for beneficial economic development, and we believe that very much in Agnolia. I definitely prefer Sordland to be welcoming Agnolian citizens, and vice versa. That's rude. Deal with the problems in your own country first. That's not going to say that unless they're an opponent. Before I start caring about Agnolian citizens, I must care about my own people. That's accurate, but voiced badly. A decision has already been made. Unfortunate. He took a sip from his vodka. So tell me, Mr. Rain, is Sordland a reliable trading partner to Agnolia? As long as Agnolia is a reliable trading partner. I can assure you we are. He paused for a moment. It was a good move to start building that highway. Overall, this will positively affect our trade. Well done, Mr. Rain. Thank you. You're very kind. Van Horn leaned back further in contemplation. Let's change the course of our nations. I'm afraid with all your actions so far, I'm not convinced that Sordland is the right partner for Agnolia. Sordland is simply too volatile. Elected politicians are getting killed in your country left and right. No, they aren't. There was one, and I've stamped down on the crime. Though, not to mention the subsequent protest in between, well, the left and right. We were willing at first. However, the situation has changed. We do not have confidence in your state anymore. I'm sorry that you've come all the way for this. You're making a grave mistake. You're also ignoring the fact that crime is down. Solve your own problems first before you threaten me, Mr. Rain. Well then. From his chair. We must continue the official program. As you know, we will pay a visit to our founder's grave for another ceremony. Afterwards, we will move into the state dinner. If I stay, there's a chance I can sway him. But it could also be a waste of time. He has been very rude and brusque. I'm tempted to just leave. But I won't storm out in a huff. After you. As soon as I left the building, I briefed Simon and David on the outcome of the meeting. The rest of our state trip was full of fake smiles, handshakes, incredibly long ceremonies, and even longer meetings between our ministers and their counterparts. When we came to the end of the trip, the way back was mostly silent. I could not help but let out a sigh of relief when we touched down in Holsword. Nope, no chance to sway him. Hegel, Van Horten is playing with fire. Yesterday morning, Chancellor of Valksland, Hegel, delivered a press conference in Helm about the escalating tensions in Helgeland. During the press release, he said Agnolia's unlawful occupation of the island will not stop us from doing whatever it takes to protect our people living in Helgeland. He heavily criticised and condemned Prime Minister Van Horten, saying, "We are dealing with an illegal occupation force which doesn't refrain from entering our territorial waters without asking our permission. Van Horten is playing with fire, and if he's not careful, he might get burned. Geopolitico will be watching the developments closely." Well, that's not good. Rioters arrested. The protests and occasional looting of the past weeks has ceased in the city of Lenkirk. Lenkirk police have reported the situation is now under control, and thousands of arrests have been made while quelling the situation. See, the grave mistake, I would have instead simply said, are you ignoring the fact that crime is now well down under my policies? And that we are on the road to economic reforms? What is there to do? There must be something somewhere. Ah, hang on, I see an arrow. Ah, Velen. Trade talks with prisoners of Velen. Well, we kind of need them now, and they're supporting our clampdown. Sordland once flight from Holstad to Rakovitz took approximately 5 hours. Despite heavy turbulence, I managed to sleep a little. Along with Simon and David, we landed in the international airport of the capital city of Velen. Our aim was to finalise a trade deal drafted in between Sordland and Velen. Shortly after our plane landed, the door opened and the sun blinded me for a moment. I stepped outside. I saw the soldiers lined up on either side of the red carpet. There must have been at least 100 soldiers. The marching band started playing and the soldiers immediately saluted me. Salute the soldiers. At the bottom of the stairs, Victor Smolak was waiting for me next to a military jeep, with a few soldiers by his side. There were a few reporters on the side, waiting with their cameras. He was a tall man, almost as tall as me. He was wearing large sunglasses and his attire was regular suit, contrasting with the military attire of everyone else in the field. Mr. President, welcome to Rakovitz. He immediately motioned for an embrace. We hugged and many cameras went off at the same time. And turned around for a couple of additional poses. Nice to see you, Mr. President. Now that the pleasantries are done, let's go. We will take the jeep for a tour. With another tune from the marching band, we boarded the military jeep. He sat in the driver's seat and I sat next to him. As we started speeding up, the soldiers saluted again. Victor Smolak saluted back. Salute the soldiers. My security detail and Victor's security detail started following us immediately, along with a team of reporters. We'll first go to the city centre to see the opening of a statue. Whose statue? It's mine, of course. Of course it is. We kept making small talk about the flight and the weather until we reached started making our way back into the city centre. Reached is an error there, I believe. On almost every corner there were reporters taking photos of us. Oddly enough, every single street that we took seemed completely empty. Is this a big photo op for you? It's a good opportunity to show the world our unity in Eastern Makopa. We must show our united strength to Rumburg. There we are. We arrived at the city centre in the middle of a large plaza. There was a covered statue. Lots of people had gathered behind fences, and they were waving both Sordland and Velen flags. Victor waved back at them. My people have been very supportive of his visit, Mr. President. I'm sure you're delighted to see. A man came close to the fences and started yelling at Victor. With my limited knowledge of the Vezic language, I understood the words Victor and murderer. Oh dear. Almost instantaneously, 2 soldiers showed up from behind the man, and he was taken away. Thankfully, the sun is up. Today will be a good day for the reveal. I see that you know how to handle dissidents. I'm glad you approve. We are of the same mind. See, I knew we would get along fine. We took our place in front of the statue. With a drum roll, the statue of Victor Smolak was uncovered. The statue was done pretty well, except that he was made more masculine. He was wearing a cloak and holding a sword in his hand. Excellent statue, very lifelike. What do you think? I'm not going to big on Sordland right now. This is respecting him and his people. Yes, it's very good, very lifelike. Glad you appreciate the art behind it. Join me for a walk. I followed him through the streets. At every corner, I shouldn't be following him, I should be walking with him. At every corner, more and more photos were taken. We stopped in front of a pastry vendor on the street. Give me 2 strudels. The man behind the stand smiled and gave us 2 strudels. We're probably not paying. We are state leaders. They're probably going to do it for free. Wait for him to pay the street vendor. He simply took the 2 strudels and didn't pay anything. Keep walking. That's really not surprising at all. Gifting a strudel to a street vendor is not to a national leader is not the least bit surprising. Afterwards, we walked a short distance to the palace. Passing the gates of the palace, we made our way to the main building, made from ivory-coloured stones. The old guard towers flanked the magnificent main building from both sides. The inside of the palace was very spacious, with very large chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Grand staircases made from the same ivory stone had red carpets on them. On both sides of the upper levels, guards stood with the traditional outfits of the old Vezek kingdom. We reached the office of the President of Velen. The door closed behind us. The interior boasted gold ornaments on the walls, ivory colours, and various jewels attached to different artifacts of old. As it was customary in Velen, we sat down on the carpet. Now we can talk about our trade deal. Yes. But before that, he clapped his hands twice. Bring the kisha. A few assistants immediately entered the room carrying a large ornamented kisha, a well-known smoking instrument originating from Velen. They immediately lit it up, and the room was filled with smell of tobacco. He inhaled smoke and handed me the kisha. Yes. Probably the highest quality tobacco I'd ever smoked. I handed it back. Took another puff, filling the room with more smoke. Oh, Mr. President. That's too. Can I call you Anton? I prefer my official title. We're here on official business. Very well, Mr. President. Tell me, what do you think about Rumberg? They are a threat that needs to be dealt with. I agree with your sentiments, Mr. President. They are a threat to everyone in the region. I assure you their time will come. In due time, yes. But now I have something else in mind. What is it? He clasped his hands. The assistant came into the room with a map of the border regions between Velen and Sordland. He pointed at the border. Look. Blood and their so-called BFF, best friends forever, are causing problems for me in this region. I know they're also a problem for you as well. I will not allow these traitors to exist in my border. I'll hit them with the might of Velen. These terrorists need to be destroyed. I call it Operation Bear Trap. I don't support any military action this close to the border. He lay back on the large pillow behind him. Here is the deal. I'll give you the best trade deal in the region. You will give me your assistance crushing the terrorists on both of our borders. We kind of need the deal, but I'm not going to attack Bloods. We're trying to bring people more equal. Under the rule of governance and strength, of course. I need specifics. Go. My spies have infiltrated BFF cells and they found caches of K-74. We traced them back to Rumberg. This alone justifies my retaliation to protect my country. Worst of all, we also found that several similar shipments are going to Sordland. Yes, Mr. President, you see, this is not just Velen's problem. Take a step back and talk about what you will get in return. I propose you a no-tariff agreement, co-investment project, and oil. In return, you'll assist me by destroying the terrorists in my country. What kind of support do you need from me? Can't Velen handle it by itself? We can, but these vermin are good at hiding. What I want from you in return for all the money and the resources is a joint operation between our armies against BFF. It took a moment. No. It goes against what I'm standing for. Wait, Miss President, wait. Normally I wouldn't offer anything else, but I like you. Here is my final offer. When the operation starts, with you or without you, there will be stragglers trying to cross into Sordland. We just want you to support the operation, even if you do not join. Stop the terrorists from fleeing into your country, and you will have your deal. No. I'm sorry, but no. That's unfortunate. I thought we could be friends, but you decided to leave Velen alone by itself. I'm not attacking a minority group for you. I'm sure a great leader like Saul would have accepted this offer. Yes, he would. My assistant will show you the way. Goodbye, Mr. Rain. Take care of yourself, Victor. I returned to Sordland immediately. I felt relieved to be back in Hallsword. This is not good. This is definitely not good. Speech of the President on the reforms. We'll end with that. I came to the Grand National Assembly of Sordland to deliver a speech regarding the new constitution and ask for support for the Assembly for the upcoming vote. I walked quickly through the corridors, giving my greeting to people on my way toward the parliamentary hall. When I entered the hall, the assembly was in complete chaos, with shouting and cursing between the parties. There was a heavy argument about a proposal made by an MP from NFP. I took my seat inside the special area reserved for ministers. Gloria was shouting from her seat, centre of the hall, as she hit the gavel 3 times, with each strike heavier than the last one. Order, order. I saw Kasura Kibna standing up from his seat and shouting toward the members of the PFJP. Mr. Kibna, calm yourself. Show respect to the procedures of this assembly. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes before everybody took back to their seats. Finally went quiet. Mr. Kibna, next time when I tell you to do so, either take your seat or leave the hall. We can proceed with the procedures of this assembly and continue their duties. Some MPs from the NFP side shouted back at her in protest. Honourable ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to continue, she pointed at me. We have the President here with us today. He has asked us to give an important announcement. The assembly fell silent. You have the floor, Mr. President. I walked to the stand as loud clapping started from the USP side. Honourable members of the assembly, I am here today to raise important questions regarding the outdated constitution. The Supreme Court holds too much power. Over our elected branches, they have been obstructing the lawmaking process and long plagued the democracy in Sordland. Tarquin Sol gave this power to the court for the sole reason to protect the constitution in the 20s, which leads us all to fail in adapting to the new world. I continued. I call everyone to stand by us to make historic change to our constitution and bring it to the standards of today's world. Applause came USP and PFJP seats. We'll break the Supreme Court's authority over constitutional changes. I focused on unity. It's more important than ever that we stand united as a nation in these changing times. I call everyone to be part of the change our people have been calling for. We all want to make Sordland better, don't we? Let's embrace democracy and unite under the banner of our people, and surely Sordland will be great again. Let's embrace the future. As I was about to continue speaking, Gloria Torrey interrupted me. Mr. President, with all due respect, I believe Sordland is already democratic. We both know that our constitution is flawed. Tarquin Sol and his efforts cannot be ignored. We must keep following the path he defined for Sordish people. I'm sure the honourable members of USP will see that the President is acting rash by allying with the opposition to destroy the culture of Solism that established Sordland. That was the extent of my quick note. Thank you, Mr. President. Has the floor. That's honest, but it also sounds a little whiny. Not here to destroy Solism, that's not really true. Who are you trying to provoke, Mrs. Torrey? USP is behind me. That was disrespectful, Mrs. Speaker. Please don't try and sabotage my speak. Please continue your speech, Mr. President. I took a breath and continued. It is time to make a new constitution together. Be part of the new era for Sordland. Join us and vote for our proposal. Let's write the future together. Did I finish with the poem? Show a little creativity. I decided to read a poem before my speech. There is destiny above destiny. This is my country. This is my country beyond everything, my beloved. There are songs to be sung in affectation of our victories. There is a spring that blossoms out of the graves of our fallen. Fortune tears me down. Do not doubt the one. There is a decision coming from the heavens. Fear not when the darkness falls. There is an artist painting the sun. Do not dare to surrender. There is victory that grows with it. It is painting the sun. Beyond the next morning there is victory waiting to be won. The assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. Some applause came from the PAFJP and USP seats. Most of the others started to make loud noise again. Thank you for the speech, Mr. President. I walked back to my seat as many MPs tried to speak. Friend Richter was among them. Yes, Mr. Richter. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. I would like to thank Mr. President for his speech. We, the People's Freedom and Justice Party, stands in agreement with the need for a more democratic constitution. I would like to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the United Sordland Party for their more open attitude compared to past years. As long as Mr. President's word proved not to be just words, we will be behind this much-needed movement for change. We welcome this attempt. I ask Mr. President to share the final contents of these proposals as soon as possible. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. Suddenly, Casero Kibner started yelling from his seat. The President must have lost his mind to cooperate with the likes of you, Mr. Richter. You and the PFJP are nothing but puppets of Western interests. Order! Madam Speaker, I know you are in agreement with me as well. Do not stand idly while this administration is making deals with snakes and undermine the integrity of Order, Mr. Kibner. How many times do I need to say? You are speaking out of I demand to speak. Gloria gave him a stare. She looked annoyed. Very well, Mr. Kibner. Go ahead. Mr. President. He looked directly at me. The nationalist movement does not agree with your priorities, nor the way you're trying to implement them. The National Front Party will not stand with you on your new constitution. Let it be known that the NFP's concerns are not included in these so-called democratic reforms. Thus, Mr. President has no right to claim them as such. We will stand our ground against any attempt to bring down our established political culture and national values. Thank you. Casero went back to his seat, but the chaos in the assembly continued. Asked to speak. Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Richter. I looked at him. We'd like to have cooperation between our parties. Rest assured your concerns will be addressed. I expect your support, Mr. Richter. We can do much together. Gloria looked at me to see if I had finished my response. And Mr. Kibner? I looked at him. It is you who shouldn't use the word democratic when you want a more centralised government. They're not specifically cooperating with someone, but everyone. We ask that you also join us. I'm saddened to hear your opposite stance. He watched as he slouched in his seat, legs crossed. Do not stand against change. Be part of it, Mr. Kibner. We can do much more together. We will bring... I expect your support in the upcoming vote, Mr. Kibner. Gloria looked at me to see if I'd finished. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. I got up from my seat and started to walk toward the exit. MPs kept shouting and responding to each other, creating a loud mess where nothing was legible. Order, order, this topic has finished. We are moving on to our next topic. I slowly left the hall. The shouting could be heard from every corner of the Grand National Assembly. Let's catch up with the news before we end. Rain, Supreme Court holds too much power. President Rain has called on the Grand National Assembly of Sordland to support upcoming constitutional changes in his address to the Parliament. The President's address came after a series of meetings within the USP, which probably involved discussions about the new constitution. President Rain talked about the main points of the proposed changes and revealed that the current draft will be looked over again with the leaders of PFJP before it's proposed to the Parliament. The Supreme Court holds too much power over our elected branches, said President Rain, blaming the 29 Constitution for giving Supreme Court justice too much power over Sordland politics. Walker warns Valgslandian Navy over Helgeland dispute. The tensions between Agnolia and Valgsland keep climbing. The latest addition to the escalations happened yesterday on the Valgslandian Channel, where the Valgslandian ships started advancing on the perimeter around the island. According to the Agnolian sources yesterday in the morning, the Agnolian battleship Van Gilben had intercepted a Valgslandian destroyer, Stanison, and warned them to move out of Agnolian waters. The Valgslandian captain did not respond to the communication, but both ships backed away from the scene after several hours of standstill. Seeing this event as Valgslandian putting pressure on the island, Arcasian President Dwight Walker warned the Valgslandian Navy, saying, "We will not tolerate any attempts to trigger an incident on international waters." They called upon Mr. Hagel, "Pull back your ships immediately." Alright. And we have one report from Holsword, reform status. Lucian Gallard reported that so far they've been able to get in total 121 signatures behind the proposal. Efforts are underway to increase the support and reach out to necessary members to reach 150, so we need 29 more. And next time we will continue to the next turn and see where things go from there. Will the highway have finished? I don't know. I've been Yorkie the Talespinner, and this has been Suzerain, and you've been a fine audience. Thank you again for helping us reach 100 subscribers.